of underdog W.
Yeah, to be honest, thank you for asking. It really pisses me off.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. This is a great league. We've got great players. There's great stories, great rookies, great teams. What Vegas has done the last 4 years, and we just spend so much time talking about the wrong.
Nate Tibbetts just threw Caitlin Clark fans under the bus in the most brutal, calculated, and absolutely gutless display of establishment protection this league has seen in months. The Cleveland Cavaliers assistant coach, interviewed by none other than Annie Costabile, because of course she's involved, went on a full-blown cape-wearing defense of Stephanie White, blaming fans, blaming outside sources, blaming everyone except the people who have actually been sabotaging the biggest star in women's basketball since she stepped foot in this league. And he did it with a straight face. He did it while spewing lie after lie after lie, rewriting history in real time, pretending that the catastrophic mismanagement of Caitlin Clark in Indiana is somehow the fault of the people who pay to watch her play. This is not coaching accountability. This is not honest analysis. This is the WNBA establishment circling the wagons around one of their own, and every single person watching this video needs to understand exactly what just happened here. Welcome back. This is WNBA Flash, and today we are ripping the doors off the most dishonest, insulting, and absolutely infuriating interview to come out of the WNBA coaching ranks this entire offseason. And we are documenting every single lie Nate Tibbetts told, every piece of evidence he ignored, and every reason why this moment proves the league still does not get it. Let me be entirely clear with you before we go any further. Stephanie White has made decision after decision after decision that has hurt Caitlin Clark, hurt the Indiana Fever, and hurt the product on the floor. She lied at press conferences. She defended opposing players who assaulted her franchise player. She launched her own signature sneaker on the same day as Caitlin Clark's biggest signature shoe drop. She played Caitlin Clark out of position to accommodate a point guard who cannot shoot. She refused to call out referees who let her star get mauled. And when the criticism came, the legitimate fact-based, receipts-backed criticism, she and the establishment blamed the fans, blamed outside sources, blamed everyone except the person making the decisions. And now Nate Tibbetts is doing the same thing, sitting in front of a camera with Annie Costabile feeding him softballs, telling the world that Stephanie White is a victim, that she's dealing with things no other coach in professional sports has to deal with, that the fans are the problem, that outside entities are trying to take over the league. It is disgusting. It is dishonest. And we are about to go through it line by line, clip by clip, and prove exactly why this is one of the most tone-deaf moments in WNBA history. Here is what I need you to understand before we get into the clips. This is not about protecting Stephanie White from mean comments on social media. This is about the WNBA establishment protecting one of their own from legitimate accountability. Stephanie White was hired to coach the Indiana Fever, a team with the biggest star in women's sports. A generational talent, a player who brought private jets and sold-out arenas and national television deals to a league that was struggling to fill gyms. And instead of building around that player, instead of maximizing that talent, instead of protecting that investment, Stephanie White made it about everyone else. She made it about her sneakers. She made it about her old guard philosophy. She made it about proving she was not going to be bullied by the new audience Caitlin Clark brought in. And when the results on the floor did not match the talent on the roster, when the Fever underperformed, when Caitlin Clark was getting choked on the court and her coach said she did not see it, the fans called it out. The new audience called it out. The people who actually watch every game and track every decision called it out. And the response from Nate Tibbetts: blame the fans. Blame the people who care. Blame the outside sources. Let's get into it.
Outside sources are trying to take over our league.
With the media, there's outside sources that are trying to create division. And at times, it's not a lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun for our players.
We just spent so much time talking about the wrong stuff. He said it, with a camera rolling, with Annie Costabile nodding along. Nate Tibbetts just told you that the criticism of Stephanie White, the documented video evidence-backed press conference lie exposing criticism, is the wrong stuff. That the league should be talking about great players and great teams and great stories, but instead everyone is focused on the wrong stuff. Let me say it back to you in the harshest possible framing, because this is what he is actually saying. Nate Tibbetts is telling you that holding a head coach accountable for lying at a press conference is the wrong conversation. That pointing out a coach defended an opposing player who choked her franchise star is the wrong conversation. That documenting a coach who launched her own sneaker line on the same day as her star player's biggest drop is the wrong conversation. That calling out a coach who played her generational point guard at small forward so a lesser player could run the offense is the wrong conversation. That is what he just said. And he said it like it was obvious. Like everyone watching should just nod along and agree that the fans are the problem. But here is the part that makes this so infuriating, and I want every single person watching this video to sit with this for a second. The players spent time talking about the wrong stuff. The players, not the fans, the players. Breena Stewart threw out a harassment case from Indiana that had nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Dijonai Carrington clotheslined Sophie Cunningham, ran to the locker room and said white privilege on camera. Chennedy Carter body-checked Caitlin Clark away from the ball and the entire Chicago Sky roster defended it. Derica Hamby made it about race. Angel Reese made it about jealousy. Sydney Carlson, a former player, went on social media talking about starting a separate league. The players did that. The players made it about everything except basketball. And Nate Tibbetts wants to blame the fans, he wants to blame outside sources. The coaches did it too. Cheryl Reeve spent an entire playoff run complaining about officiating while her team was getting every call. Teresa Weatherspoon got fired mid-season in Chicago after defending Chennedy Carter's assault on Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White lied at press conferences, refused to defend her players, and made herself the story with a sneaker launch. The media did it. Monica McNutt has been spewing hate toward Caitlin Clark for 3 straight years. Chiny Ogwumike has been dismissive. Andrea Carter has been condescending. The entire ESPN WNBA coverage has been more focused on protecting the old guard than celebrating the new star. And the league did it. Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, has been so ineffective at managing the situation that Adam Silver had to step in and do her job for her. The referees let Caitlin Clark get mauled game after game after game with no consequences. An owner in Seattle was caught harassing 16-year-old girls on social media. Fans were getting spit on in Seattle. All of that happened, all of it is documented, all of it is on video, and Nate Tibbetts wants to tell you that the problem is the fans talking about it. No, absolutely not. That is not how this works.
Coaches, I love our media. We make it about basketball, but some of the things that Steph has to go through, like, that's wrong. There's no other coach in any professional sport that has to go through the stuff that she does.
Outside sources are trying to take over our league. Outside sources that are trying to create divisions. There it is, the establishment's favorite excuse. Outside sources, outside entities, people who are not part of the WNBA family, people who do not understand the culture, people who are trying to divide the league. Let me be entirely clear about what this phrase actually means. When Nate Tibbetts says outside sources, he's talking about Caitlin Clark fans. He is talking about the new audience that came to the WNBA because of her. He is talking about the people who sold out arenas, who drove television ratings, who made the league financially viable for the first time in its history. He is calling them outsiders. He is calling them divisive. He is saying they do not belong. And here is the part that should make every single person watching this video absolutely furious. Those outside sources are the only reason half the players in this league are flying private. Those outside sources are the only reason the WNBA is getting a new television deal worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Those outside sources are the only reason the Indiana Fever went from playing in front of half-empty arenas to selling out every single game on the road. Caitlin Clark brought that. Her fans brought that. The new audience brought that. And the WNBA establishment is calling them the problem. Nate Tibbetts says outside sources are creating division. Let me tell you what actually created division. Dijonai Carrington clotheslining Sophie Cunningham and then running to the locker room to say white privilege created division. What did outside sources have to do with that? What did fans have to do with Dijonai Carrington making a dirty play and then making it about race? Nothing. Nothing. The players created the division. The coaches enabled it. The media amplified it. And now the establishment is blaming the people who called it out. This is gaslighting. This is rewriting history. This is the WNBA doing what it has done for 3 straight years, protecting the old guard at the expense of the new star. And I have been documenting this from day one. I told you this was coming. I told you the establishment would never let Caitlin Clark just be great without trying to make her the problem. I told you they would blame the fans before they ever held the coaches accountable. And here we are. Nate Tibbetts just proved it on camera. Let's go deeper into the Stephanie White piece, because this is where the lies get even more blatant and even more insulting. Nate Tibbetts said, and I want you to listen closely to this, that Stephanie White is dealing with things that no other coach in professional sports has to deal with. That it is wrong, that it is unfair, that she was hired to coach basketball and instead she is dealing with stuff that does not matter. First of all, let's be clear about one undeniable fact. Stephanie White chose this job. Nobody forced her to take it. Nobody pulled up to her house and made her sign a contract. She chose to leave the Connecticut Sun, where she was an assistant coach in a stable situation, to come to the Indiana Fever and coach the biggest star in women's sports. She knew what she was signing up for. She knew the attention. She knew the scrutiny. She knew the expectations. And she chose to come in and make it about everyone else. She chose to get on the podium and lie. She chose to say she did not see Alyssa Thomas choke Caitlin Clark when the entire world saw it on video. She chose to defend the opposing player and make her the victim while her own franchise player had a hand on her throat. She chose to launch her signature sneaker on the same day as Caitlin Clark's biggest Nike drop. Think about that for a second. Your franchise player, the reason your games are sold out, the reason you are on national television, the reason the entire league is getting more attention than it has ever gotten, has her biggest signature shoe launch of the year. And you, the head coach, decide that is the perfect day to premiere your own sneaker line. That is not a coincidence. That is a choice. That is ego. That is making it about you instead of the player who is carrying the franchise. She chose to play Caitlin Clark at small forward so Erica Wheeler could run the point. Erica Wheeler, a player who cannot shoot, who cannot space the floor, who is not a better decision maker than Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White made that choice. And when the offense struggled, when the spacing was terrible, when Caitlin Clark was standing in the corner instead of running the offense, the fans called it out, the analysts called it out, the people who actually understand basketball called it out. And Stephanie White's response? Silence. No adjustment, no accountability, just more of the same. She chose to say in press conferences that other players on the team were the main priority, not the biggest star in the sport. She said that out loud. She said the offense was not going to be built around Caitlin Clark. She said they were going to play team basketball, which is code for we are not going to let the new star be the focal point because it makes the old guard uncomfortable. Those were choices. Those were decisions. Those were things Stephanie White did that hurt the team, hurt the player, and hurt the product on the floor. And when the criticism came, it was not from random trolls on social media. It was from people who watch every game. It was from analysts who understand the sport. It was from former players who know what it takes to win. And Nate Tibbetts wants to tell you that Stephanie White is a victim, that she is dealing with unfair criticism, that no other coach in professional sports has to go through what she goes through. Let me tell you what other coaches go through. Other coaches get criticized when they make bad decisions. Other coaches get questioned when their rotations do not make sense. Other coaches get called out when they lie at press conferences. Other coaches lose their jobs when they underperform with elite talent. That is professional sports. That is accountability. That is the job. But in the WNBA, if you are part of the old guard, if you are part of the establishment, if you are someone the league wants to protect, you get Nate Tibbetts going on camera to defend you. You get Annie Costebile giving you softball interviews.
So he said that stuff pisses me off. She got to deal with things that don't matter outside of basketball. First of all, Stephanie White is the person who got up there and said she doesn't know the scientific method, how X plus Y equals Z is the difference from
You get the entire media apparatus telling everyone that the fans are the problem.
of underdog W.
Yeah, to be honest, thank you for asking. It really pisses me off.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. This is a great league. We've got great players. There's great stories, great rookies, great teams. What Vegas has done the last 4 years, and we just spend so much time talking about the wrong.
I feel sorry for some of those coaches. Some of the things that Steph has to go through, like that's wrong. There's no other coach in any professional sport that has to go through the stuff that she does. He said it again. He doubled down. Nate Tibbetts feels sorry for Stephanie White. He thinks what she is going through is wrong. He thinks no other coach has to deal with this. Let me respond to that as directly as possible. Stephanie White is being held to the same standard every other professional coach is held to. The only difference is that in every other professional sport, when a coach makes bad decisions, they get criticized. When a coach lies, they get called out. When a coach underperforms with elite talent, they get fired. In the WNBA, they get defended by assistant coaches on other teams. They get protected by the establishment. They get framed as victims. And I want to be clear about what Nate Tibbetts is actually upset about. He is not upset that Stephanie White is being criticized unfairly. He is upset that she is being criticized at all. He is upset that the new audience does not just blindly accept whatever the old guard does. He is upset that Caitlin Clark fans actually care enough to hold the coach accountable. That is what this is about. This is about control. This is about the WNBA establishment trying to maintain power over the narrative, trying to make sure the old guard stays in charge, trying to make sure the new audience knows their place. And it is not going to work because the receipts are everywhere. The lies are documented. The decisions are on video, and the people who actually care about this league are not going to let it slide. Let me walk you through the specific lies Stephanie White told. Because this is what Nate Tibbetts is defending. This is what he thinks is unfair criticism. Lie number 1, Stephanie White said she did not see Alyssa Thomas choke Caitlin Clark. The entire world saw it. It was on every replay. It was the most talked about moment of that playoff series. And Stephanie White stood at the podium and said she did not see it. That is a lie. That is not a difference of opinion. That is not a coaching decision. That is a head coach refusing to defend her franchise player and lying to cover for it. Lie number 2, Stephanie White said the team was not going to be built around Caitlin Clark, that other players were priorities. And then she went out and played Caitlin at small forward, had her standing in the corner, had her playing off ball while Erica Wheeler ran the offense. That is not a system. That is sabotage. That is a coach choosing to minimize the best player on the floor because she does not want to admit that the new star is better than the old guard. Lie number 3, Stephanie White said the criticism she was receiving was unfair, that it was coming from people who do not understand basketball. But the criticism was coming from former players. It was coming from analysts. It was coming from people who have been watching this league for decades. It was not coming from random trolls. It was coming from people who know the game and could see exactly what she was doing wrong. And now Nate Tibbetts is on camera repeating those same lies, saying the fans are the problem, saying outside sources are trying to take over, saying Stephanie White is a victim. It is insulting. It is dishonest. And it proves that the WNBA establishment has learned absolutely nothing from the last 3 years.
Outside sources are trying to take over our league.
With the media, there's outside sources that are trying to create division.
Yeah.
And at times it's not a lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun for our players.
She's hired to coach basketball. They got a great team, and they're just dealing with stuff that doesn't really matter, and so that still pisses me off. That still pisses him off. Nate Tibbetts is mad. He is mad that Stephanie White has to deal with criticism. He is mad that fans are holding her accountable. He is mad that the new audience is not just sitting quietly and accepting whatever the establishment does. And here is what pisses me off. Stephanie White is the one who made it about stuff that does not matter. She's the one who launched a sneaker line on the same day as her star players drop. She's the one who talked about gender and science and X plus Y equals Z when asked about roster decisions. She's the one who said other players were the priority instead of the generational talent sitting right in front of her. Stephanie White made it about everything except basketball. And now Nate Tibbetts is mad that people are calling her out for it. You want to talk about what matters? Let's talk about what matters. What matters is that Caitlin Clark is the best player in the WNBA. What matters is that she brought more attention, more money, more fans, and more opportunity to this league than any player in its history. What matters is that she deserved a coach who would build around her, protect her, and maximize her talent. And instead, she got Stephanie White, a coach who lied for her, a coach who played her out of position, a coach who made it about everyone except her, a coach who is now being defended by the establishment while the fans who actually care are being called the problem. That is what matters. And Nate Tibbetts does not want to talk about any of it. Let me give you the 5 predictions that are going to come true over the next 6 months. And I want every single person watching this video to save this and come back when it happens. Prediction number 1, Stephanie White will not make it through next season as the head coach of the Indiana Fever if she continues to make the same decisions. The front office is already hearing the criticism. The ownership is already seeing the numbers. If the Fever underperform again, if Caitlin Clark is misused again, if the same patterns repeat, Stephanie White will be gone by the All-Star break. Save this clip. Prediction number 2, Caitlin Clark is going to have the best statistical season of her career next year, and it is going to happen in spite of her coaching, not because of it. She is too good, she is too talented, she is too smart. And when she puts up 30 points and 10 assists per game while playing out of position, the media is going to give Stephanie White credit for it. And I am going to be here reminding everyone that the coach tried to minimize her. Prediction number 3, the WNBA is going to lose a significant portion of the new audience if the establishment keeps doing this. If they keep blaming the fans, if they keep protecting the old guard, if they keep making Caitlin Clark the problem instead of celebrating her, the people who came to the league because of her are going to leave. And when the ratings drop, when the attendance falls, when the money dries up, the establishment is going to blame everyone except themselves. Prediction number 4, someone in the media is going to write the definitive piece on how the WNBA mishandled Caitlin Clark's rookie season, and it is going to include interviews with coaches, players, and executives who will admit off the record that Stephanie White was in over her head. That story is already being reported. The sources are already talking. And when it drops, every single person who defended Stephanie White is going to pretend they never said what they said. Prediction number 5. The Indiana Fever are going to make the playoffs next season, and it is going to be because of Caitlin Clark, not because of the coaching. And when they do, the establishment is going to try to rewrite history and say that Stephanie White was the right hire all along. And I am going to have the receipts showing every single bad decision she made along the way. Mark this video. Save these predictions, come back in 6 months and tell me I was wrong. And here is the closing emotional beat, because this is what Nate Tibbetts and Stephanie White and the entire WNBA establishment do not understand. Caitlin Clark is out there right now in the offseason working. She is getting better, she is adding to her game. She is preparing to come back next season and prove every single doubter wrong. She is not complaining about the criticism. She is not blaming the fans. She is not making herself the victim. She is doing what great players do. She is working. She is competing. She is getting ready to dominate. And when she comes back next season and puts up numbers that make everyone forget about the mismanagement, when she leads the Fever to the playoffs, when she proves that she is the best player in this league, the establishment is going to try to take credit for it. But we are going to remember. We are going to remember that they tried to minimize her. We are going to remember that they blamed the fans. We are going to remember that Nate Tibbetts went on camera and called the people who actually care about this league outside sources. And we are going to make sure everyone else remembers too. Drop your most honest take in the comments. Is Nate Tibbetts right that Stephanie White is being unfairly criticized, or is this the WNBA establishment protecting one of their own from legitimate accountability? Pick a side, defend it. I want to hear every single take. And while you are down there, save this comment. I just gave you 5 predictions. If I am right about Stephanie White being on the hot seat by the All-Star break, come back and tell me. If I am wrong, roast me. I will take it. But save this video and come back when it happens. Tag the friend who keeps telling you that the fans are the problem. Tag the person who thinks Stephanie White is being treated unfairly. Make them watch this video and tell you they still believe it after seeing the receipts. And here is what is coming next. Tomorrow we are breaking down the latest reports on the Indiana Fever's off-season moves. And we are going to go through exactly what the front office is planning for next season. If you are not subscribed, you are going to miss it. Hit the bell, make sure you are here. This is WNBA Flash.
Coaches, I love our media. We make it about basketball. But some of the things that Steph has to go through, like, that's wrong. There's no other coach in any professional sport that has to go through the stuff that she does.
We will see you in the next video.
So he said that stuff pisses me off. She got to deal with things that don't matter outside of basketball. First of all, Stephanie White is the person who got up there and said she doesn't know the scientific method, how X plus Y equals Z is the difference from a